What's up, humans? Welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Thank you for all the support that the channel has been getting over the last couple of days. There's been a really nice uptick in views and comments and likes. So that means you guys like what I'm doing, and I'm gonna keep trying. In today's video, we're going to, well, before that, I want to ask you, please, guys, to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps it keep moving forward. If you like what you see also and you want to support the channel in any other way, please consider checking out those donation links at the bottom or the Amazon wish list that I left there. Anything, any kind of help you guys bring our way is going to be greatly appreciated. So let's continue with the video. Okay, so the topic that I chose for today, to do today, is related to an interview that I had recently. I did on a different show, the Unidentified Alien Podcast, with Mr. Stephen Diener, who is a researcher and an investigator and a podcaster who is very well known in the community. The first time I knew about him, was when he started releasing some UFO videos that at first they didn't seem that much compelling to me. But when I heard him talking about the cases and how he got the videos, that piqued my interest. So I started following him and what he's been doing so far. And he reached out to me on a one-day notice. I did have time to talk to him the day after that, and we spoke for about an hour. The interview is on Spotify, and he just sent me the video just in case I wanted to clip it for something for my channel, which I do. This one, the clip that I'm going to show you guys right now, there's a lot of anthropological, morphological data that is quite compelling. Two of the major interviews that I think I did there were two with Dr. Celestino Piotti, who is from Argentina. He founded the career of medical anthropology in Argentina.
Wow.
So he's credentialed, and when we spoke, I decided to interview him because in the second hearing, he said some stuff that really threw me off. He claimed that the smaller bodies that are 60 centimeters tall are future humans, that they have morphology from our descendants. And I was like, did he just really? Like, I want to talk to this guy, see why he says that. He's so credentialed. He's really like, he told me he's researched into remains of thousands and thousands of dead beings or humans or animals all over the place, So he knows when he's looking at remains, he knows what he's looking at. The dude has all that baggage behind him. And when we spoke, he basically told me that the way that different skulls are measured, all of our ancestors from thousands and thousands of years in the past, there's certain angle that he measures that tells him which species he's dealing with. If it's an Australopithecus, there's a specific angle for that. If it's an Homo habilis, there's a specific angle for that is a little bit different from the Australopithecus. And from one evolution to the other, it's the exact same measurement. So that's how he tells if what he's looking at, a cranium he's looking at, is either an ancestor of ours or a Homo sapiens or something different, which is what he claims that he found. Because the angles are from a species that is supposed to be living many, many years in the future.
So his claims are that, according to his research, and again, I'm glad you point out his years of expertise and thousands of craniums that he studied in his career. Because it's important to point that out with his resume when he has a massive claim like that. Because just to restate it here, his claim is that the smaller ones, the smaller Nazca mummies, are more consistent with an evolution that hasn't taken place yet.
Yeah, that's
but
what he's
would
saying.
take place in the future.
And he doesn't know how. That's what breaks his head,
Wow.
constantly, because he made these measurements and he was like, that can't be right. And he made it again, and he's done it thousands of times at this point. He did them again right after he testified in Congress, just to make sure that what he said he was sure about.
And that
And he
is
was
true,
like,
right? That's important too. He did testify in the Congress hearings in Mexico, and he said this in the hearings.
yes, he did.
Wow.
That's what blew me away. I was like, this guy must be, I don't know. And here's a little inside baseball for you. When that happened, right after the hearings, I reached out to Ross Coulthart because we used to correspond a lot more before. Now that's stopped. I asked him about Dr. Piotti's claims, and he kind of snapped at me. He was like, that's extremely irresponsible to just talk about that without having any proof. And I was like, okay. That made me want to talk to Piotti even more because it was so fast. Like it's what I told you at the beginning. It's like when someone just like that dismisses something, that's a red flag for me. That makes me want to investigate immediately. Because let's remember, Ross knows a lot more than what he's telling us, and who knows what that is, and this also coincides with Dr. Michael Masters' future human hypothesis, which is I found very, very interesting. When I spoke to Dr. Piotti, they reached at similar conclusions, but from different angles completely. Dr. Masters studied all the craft and the identified flying objects that he calls in his previous book. And Dr. Piotti did it by measuring these beings' craniums. So that was very interesting to me too.
Really intriguing stuff. I had never heard that theory before. Naturally, when we hear about mummies, we think about beings from the past. So when you start to consider that these were some type of time travelers, I mean, I guess it's the only way to put it. Incredible. I mean, really, really something to consider. Again, that type of science coming from somebody who knows their stuff and what to look for. So that's, I suppose, an angle to certainly keep an eye on.
So yeah, it has to do with the fact that the two interviews I did with Dr. Celestino Piotti, they happened because I saw Dr. Piotti talking about these little beings that are 60 centimeters tall being humans from the future. You may think, what did I think about at the same time that I heard him say that? Obviously, I thought about Dr. Michael Masters. And the whole timeline, since I saw Dr. Piotti to today, a lot of interesting things have happened. Dr. Masters is a really cool guy. We speak often. He's always very responsive to me. He's always very educated, very cordial. I did let him know that I find it unfortunate that he wanted to move away from this topic specifically, especially because I spoke to Dr. Piotti. Because these two seem to have reached a similar conclusion, which is there are future humans dealing with us. And Dr. Piotti claims that he found evidence that these future humans were around between 1400 and 2000 years ago. And Dr. Masters also says that we're dealing with future humans, but his hypothesis has more to do with these future humans have actually cracked time travel And these UFOs, at least some of them that we see, are in fact time machines. I would encourage you guys to read the extra tempestual model from Dr. Michael Masters. He talks in detail about many cases where there's time dilation, where there's people who get out of UFOs that look a lot like humans. Many of them even have military garment. And he also speaks about hybridization, which is another common subject in the Nazca Mummies conversation. And I know that Dr. Masters was very adamant to say that these are fake. I know that the evidence he saw is from fake bodies and constructed bodies. That I do know. That is true because he is one of the most accomplished morphological anthropologists in the world. So what he looks at, he knows what he's looking at. Same as Dr. Piotti. When he's looking at remains, ancient remains from dead either people or animals, he knows exactly what he's looking at. And that is the main reason why I feel inclined to believe that both of them saw actual real evidence that led them to those conclusions about the mummies. And that's why I say that it is really a shame that Dr. Michael Masters doesn't want to talk about this anymore. Because I find it really interesting that he's talking about the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, hybridization, and future humans, which all three topics seem to be associated with the Nazca mummies. Do you see the connection here? And I will keep trying to maybe get a statement or two from him, but I don't know if he will. I guess he has his reasons, and we need to respect them. I am sorry for mentioning you in this video. I have been respectful. I'm just saying and stating that I feel it's very unfortunate that you checked yourself out from the conversation, especially because I would really love it if you could speak to Dr. Piotti, because you're both anthropologists. You have slightly different areas in which you concentrate, but I do think that if you spoke, you might find and learn a lot from each other. So I hope it happens. And I am going to leave you with this clip from one of the many interviews Dr. Masters did about the hybridization and some details of why he thinks these are humans from the future. Let's preface this by saying I am not saying any of this is real, guys. I know that a lot of you, or some of you, have already questioned my journalistic integrity. Frankly, I don't care. But I do have to say this. I'm not saying this is real. I'm saying these are hypotheses that are very interesting, and that, for example, Professor Piotti has looked at real physical evidence that makes him come up with these conclusions. We can't ignore that. And the people who generally approach to the comment section or to Reddit or anywhere to talk shit about me are always, without an exception, people who don't even look at my content. So I'm going to ask both skeptics and debunkers a favor, if you will indulge me. If you want to come at me and criticize my work, please do so informed. Look at my content before you come at me. See what I'm trying to do. I am just trying to speak to people who are involved right in the middle of this and get them to tell their story. I am not taking any sides. I'm not even sure what these bodies are yet, but there is compelling evidence, as I told Stephen Diener in that interview. And I think that we need to investigate it, and that's what I'm doing. So if you think that that is poor journalism, then I don't know what I can tell you, man, or woman. That's on you. I still love you. I still respect you. And I hope that all that hate you put into the keyboard, you use it as a catalyst and maybe try to transform it into something more constructive. I guess maybe that would be best for you instead of just spewing hate with your fingers like a crazy person. So I'm going to leave the Dr. Masters video right here.
I think it's that, and also the hybridization thing that's so commonly described. I think that's been going on for a very long time too. And if you think about it, and it's kind of the focus of a book I'm writing now that should be out in a couple months actually, is if you take these individuals at, say, even a more distant time, like the Greys, and you hybridize their DNA with past humans that lived maybe 20, 30,000 years before our time, then you get something that's kind of a cross between them. You're averaging out those craniofacial characteristics and other aspects of their morphology and physiology. And we have been accelerating our rate of change, but with the ability to travel back and sample gametes from any of these different forms, there's absolutely nothing that's stopping them from creating themselves just in a physical form that allows them to walk amongst us at whatever time they choose. And there does seem to be evidence that that's happening too, that they are actually here with us now in whatever form, a human form, obviously, but with the abilities, the clairvoyance, the telepathy, the future knowledge that you don't typically see in people of this time. So I think it's the hybridization. There are also people that report seeing, such as Terry Lovelace described instances of seeing modern humans in military garb, U.S. military garb, I think specifically, and he would know he was in the military. So that could be, some sort of integration happening now that has been in the past. I know it starts to sound crazy and like conspiracy theory, but if we're working with them in the future, or if we're working with them now, who knows when that started? We may have been for decades, really. So yeah.
And yeah, guys, that's it for the video today. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys on tomorrow's video. Let me know what you think about this link between the two doctors that came up with the similar conclusion of future humans. Bye.